Unexpected intervention. The battle in the Nexus sector had raged for 7 cycles without pause. The void between the twin planets of Valastra shimmered with energy discharges and the burning hulls of destroyed vessels. This was to be the final confrontation between the Zektheri Imperium and the Velnar Collective, 2 powerhouse civilizations whose war had consumed 3 star systems and countless lives. Supreme Commander Tazrith of the Zektheri watched from the command deck of the dreadnought Eternal Dominion. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. The Velnar fleet was formidable. Their organic crystal hybrid ships moved with unnatural grace, their living weapons adapting to Zektheri shield frequencies with each exchange. "Concentrate fire on their flagship," Tazrith ordered, his voice calm despite the situation. Their formation breaks without leadership. The Zektheri fleet responded immediately, their synchronized weapon systems unleashing a storm of antimatter projectiles that carved brilliant paths across space. The Velnar flagship, a massive crescent-shaped vessel with pulsing veins of energy running through its hull, deployed countermeasures, but several shots connected, tearing great wounds in its crystalline structure. Aboard the Velnar flagship Harmony of Purpose, High Admiral Kalis felt her vessel shudder beneath her. Her translucent skin rippled with distress patterns as she absorbed damage reports through her neural connection. "The shield harmonics cannot be sustained," her second reported. "We must withdraw and regroup." "No," Kalis responded, her voice resonating through the ship's consciousness. "The Zektheri must not claim this sector. Their mining operations would devastate the planetary ecosystems." She channeled her determination into the ship, and the wounded vessel responded, its wounds beginning to regenerate. "All vessels, prepare for final assault pattern," she commanded. "We will not yield." The 2 fleets maneuvered for position, thousands of vessels locked in a deadly dance. Strategic algorithms calculated trajectories and firing solutions, while their organic counterparts made intuitive leaps that no computer could. The battle had reached its crescendo. This engagement would determine which civilization would control the resource-rich Nexus sector for generations to come. And then, everything changed. The first indication was a surge of unknown energy that rippled through space-time itself. Sensor operators on both fleets registered the anomaly simultaneously, their confusion evident in the sudden pause in fire exchanges. "Unknown signature detected," reported the Zektheri sensor chief, his lower eyes blinking rapidly in confusion. "It doesn't match any known configuration." At the exact coordinates of the energy surge, space itself seemed to fold inward, creating a temporary distortion that bent light around it. From this distortion emerged a single vessel of unfamiliar design. It was smaller than the capital ships of either fleet, perhaps a third the size of the Zektheri dreadnought. Its hull was a deep matte black that seemed to absorb rather than reflect the light of Valastra's twin stars. No visible weapon emplacements marked its surface, yet something about its sleek, predatory design suggested tremendous power held in reserve. "Identify that vessel," Tazrith demanded, a hint of urgency breaking through his composed exterior. "Unknown configuration, unknown materials," his intelligence officer replied. "Pattern matching suggests a ship of human design." "Human." Tazrith hissed the word. The species was known, but barely. A peripheral civilization, confined to a single star system in an unremarkable sector. They had achieved interstellar capability only recently, and their technology was considered primitive by galactic standards. Their few diplomatic envoys had been treated as curiosities at best. "That's impossible," Tazrith declared. "The humans possess nothing remotely capable of interstellar travel at this scale." Across the battlefield, Admiral Kalis was experiencing similar disbelief. The Velnar, being empathic by nature, had maintained slightly warmer relations with the humans, but even their intelligence suggested nothing that could explain this vessel's presence. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "All frequencies." Before either fleet could establish contact, the human vessel moved. There was no visible propulsion, no energy signature that their sensors could detect. It simply was in one position, then was in another, covering several thousand kilometers instantaneously. And then it broadcast, on all frequencies, in all languages simultaneously. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth vessel Defiance. This conflict ends now. The voice was firm, confident, brooking no argument. Both fleet commanders felt an involuntary chill at the absolute certainty in those words. Human vessel, Tazreth responded, his voice carefully measured. This is a regional dispute that doesn't concern your species. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. The Defiance didn't respond verbally. Instead, it demonstrated its intentions, a pulse of energy, not a weapon discharge, but something else entirely, expanded from the human ship in a perfect sphere. As it passed through the nearest Zektheri vessels, their systems simply ceased functioning. Engines, weapons, even life support, all disabled in an instant. The ships drifted, powerless. Impossible, whispered Tazreth's executive officer. The human vessel shifted position again, appearing suddenly amidst the Velnar fleet. The same energy pulse expanded, with identical results. Dozens of crystal ships went dark, drifting lifeless in space. This, Admiral Kellis struggled to comprehend what she was witnessing. This technology is beyond anything we've encountered. Captain Rice spoke again, her voice calm but unyielding. Both your civilizations have fought for 7 cycles, destroying worlds and lives for resources that could have been shared. We have observed long enough. The statement sent shockwaves through both command centers. The humans had been watching. For how long? And with what technology it had evaded the detection networks of 2 of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Your species is primitive, Tazreth snarled, though his confidence was clearly shaken. You have no standing here. Perhaps you should reconsider your assessment, Rise replied. The Defiance shifted again, reappearing directly between the 2 flagships. At this closer range, details of its construction became clearer. The hull wasn't simply black. It seemed to be composed of a material that actively manipulated light and other energies around it. No visible seams or panels marked its surface. It was as though the ship had been grown or printed as a single piece. We are transmitting coordinates for a neutral location, Rice continued. Your leadership will meet there in 12 hours to negotiate a permanent settlement. This is not a request. Tazreth's rage was palpable. Target that vessel. All functional ships, fire at will. Hundreds of Zektheri weapons locked onto the Defiance and fired simultaneously. The space around the human vessel became a maelstrom of destructive energies. Antimatter torpedoes, graviton beams, and quantum disruptors, enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. When the barrage ended, the Defiance remained, completely untouched. No shields had been detected, no evasive maneuvers observed. The weapons had simply failed to affect it. That was unwise, Captain Rice said, and there was something almost like disappointment in her voice. The Defiance emitted a focused beam of coherent energy, not at the Zektheri flagship, but at an unpopulated moon orbiting Valastra. The beam lasted less than a second. The moon exploded. Not simply damage, not broken apart. It disintegrated completely, transformed into an expanding cloud of elementary particles. The demonstration of power was unmistakable and terrifying. Silence fell across all communication channels. Admiral Killis was the first to recover. Her crystalline form shimmered as she processed this new reality. The Velnar Collective acknowledges your request. We will attend the proposed negotiation. Tazreth remained silent, his pride warring with his self-preservation. Finally, practicality won. The Imperium will also attend, under protest. Excellent, Captain Reyes responded. We look forward to a productive discussion about the future of this sector and your place in the wider galaxy. As the human vessel maintained its position between the fleets, the implications of its arrival rippled outward. Communications officers on both sides were already transmitting urgent reports to their respective governments. The galaxy was about to change, and at the center of that change stood a ship from a species no one had taken seriously until now. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would be the same again. Humanity ascendant. The neutral location chosen for the negotiations was Outpost Zenith, an abandoned mining station orbiting a gas giant at the edge of the Nexus sector. Once bustling with activity, it had been evacuated early in the conflict, leaving it conveniently empty and strategically insignificant. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the viewport of the conference chamber, watching as the delegates' shuttles approached. Behind her stood Commander Alejandro Vega, her second-in-command, and Dr. Samira Khan, the mission's diplomatic specialist. "They're sending their highest representatives," Dr. Khan noted, reviewing data on her tablet. "The Zektheri Archon himself and the Velnar Concordat. They're taking us very seriously." "As they should," Reyes replied, her expression neutral but determined. At 45, she carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to command, her salt and pepper hair cut in a practical style that suited her no-nonsense approach. "How much do we reveal?" Vega asked quietly, his dark eyes concerned. "About Project Ascension, about the Forerunner technology, about Earth's true situation." Reyes considered carefully. "Enough to establish our position, not enough to reveal our vulnerabilities." The delegations arrived with minimal ceremony. The Zektheri Archon, Morven Taz, was a towering figure, his 4 eyes set in a face covered with intricate tattoos denoting his lineage and achievements. The Velnar Concordat was represented by 3 crystalline entities who moved in perfect harmony, their translucent bodies pulsing with colors that conveyed their emotional states. As they assembled around the conference table, the tension was palpable. Species that had been at war for 7 cycles, forced to sit together by the intervention of a civilization they had both dismissed as insignificant. "Let us begin," Reyes stated simply, activating a holographic display in the center of the table. "This sector belongs to neither of your empires. From this day forward, it will be administered as a neutral zone under joint oversight, with Earth as the mediating authority." The Archon's upper eyes narrowed dangerously. "You presume much, human. One ship, however advanced, does not give you the right to dictate terms to civilizations that span hundreds of worlds." "It's not just one ship," Reyes replied calmly, nodding to Vega. The commander activated a sequence on his device. The holographic display shifted to show real-time images from across the galaxy. Dozens of human vessels, identical to the Defiance, positioned near strategic locations throughout Zektheri and Velnar space. Some were visible outside major population centers, others near military installations or resource-rich worlds. "While your fleets were concentrated here," Reyes explained, "we deployed our vessels throughout your territories. Each is capable of what you witnessed at Valastra. Each awaits my command." The revelation landed like a physical blow. The Concordat's crystalline forms vibrated with shock, their colors shifting rapidly between alarm and disbelief. "This is impossible," the Archon whispered, his composure finally broken. "Your species was nothing. A curiosity. Your technology was centuries behind ours." Dr. Khan stepped forward. "That was a carefully maintained illusion, Archon. Humanity learned early that appearing weak was safer than displaying strength. We watched as your civilizations consumed world after world, species after species." The hologram shifted again, displaying historical records of both the Zektheri and Velnar expanding through the galaxy, sometimes through diplomacy, often through force. 50 Earth years ago," Khan continued, "our deep space expeditions discovered the ruins of the Forerunners in a system you had overlooked. Their technology and knowledge accelerated our development exponentially." "The Forerunners are a myth," one of the Velnar representatives vibrated, their tone conveying skepticism. "No," Reyes countered, "they were very real. And they left warnings about civilizations that expand without restraint, that view the galaxy as a resource to be consumed rather than a garden to be tended." The hologram changed again, showing complex mathematical equations and physics models that neither alien delegation fully comprehended. The technology that powers our ships, Vega explained, isn't just advanced weaponry or propulsion. It's a fundamental rethinking of how matter and energy interact with space-time. The Forerunners understood that the universe itself rejects certain types of exploitation. The Archon's anger was barely contained. You speak in riddles and threats. What gives humans the right to judge civilizations that have existed for millennia before your kind even achieved writing? Not the right, Rise responded, her voice softening slightly. The responsibility. The Forerunners selected humanity as their successors. They saw in us something worth preserving, a balance between technological ambition and ethical restraint that both your civilizations have lost. The Concordat conferred among themselves, their crystalline bodies resonating. Finally, they addressed the humans directly. If what you claim is true, why reveal yourselves now? Why not earlier in our conflict, before so many lives were lost? It was a fair question, and Rise respected them for asking it. We needed to be certain of our technology, of our understanding, and of your intentions. We intervened when it became clear that this war would spread beyond the Nexus sector, potentially destabilizing the entire galactic arm. As the negotiations continued, details emerged of the new arrangement. The Nexus sector would become a shared resource zone, with extraction limits and environmental protections enforced by Earth. Both empires would withdraw their military forces but maintain trade access, and most significantly, representatives from all three species would form a new council to address future disputes. Not everyone accepted these terms willingly. As the Zektheri delegation returned to their shuttle, the Archon pulled Supreme Commander Tazrith aside. "This cannot stand," he hissed quietly. "Prepare the Sundering Fleet. These humans must be eliminated, regardless of cost." What the Archon didn't realize was that human technology now included methods of surveillance beyond anything the Zektheri could detect. Every word was transmitted directly to the Defiance. 3 days later, as the Zektheri Sundering Fleet, the Empire's most powerful military force, hidden in a pocket dimension for emergency use, assembled for its strike against Earth, it found the Defiance waiting. Captain Rice didn't bother with warnings this time. The demonstration at Valastra had been clear enough. Instead, the human vessel simply activated its primary system. The pocket dimension collapsed, trapping the entire Sundering Fleet in a space-time anomaly that removed it from our universe entirely. Thousands of ships, the pride of the Zektheri military, gone in an instant. The message was received. Within hours, the Archon himself communicated his unconditional acceptance of the negotiated terms. The Velnar, who had already recognized the wisdom in cooperation, welcomed the development. 6 months later, the First Galactic Council convened on Earth itself, the first time representatives of either empire had visited the human homeworld. What they found surprised them. Not a planet of warmongers or conquerors, but a civilization that had nearly destroyed itself before finding balance. Cities integrated with natural environments, energy systems that enhanced rather than depleted planetary resources, and a society that valued diversity of thought and form. "We misunderstood you," the Velnar Concordat admitted to Captain Reyes, who had been promoted to Admiral and now represented Earth on the Council. "We saw your isolation as weakness, your caution as fear. A common mistake," Rise replied with a small smile. "One that has protected us until we were ready to emerge." As the council chamber filled with representatives from dozens of species, some allies of the Zektheri, others of the Velnar, many independent, the galactic order restructured itself around this new reality. Humanity was not just present on the galactic stage. They were directing the play. And as the Defiance and its sister ships continued their patrols throughout known space, other civilizations that had once dismissed humans as insignificant now watched with newfound respect, and perhaps a healthy measure of fear. The unthinkable had happened. A human warship had entered the galactic battlefield, and everything had changed.